The progress of removing scaffolding nets across the city by tomorrow's deadline is deemed unsatisfactory. Many construction sites are stepping up measures against smoking in light of the deadly blaze in Taipo. And President Xi Jinping plays tour guide on a rare trip with French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to Chengdu. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Evan Bai. Time is running out for the construction sector as the government's deadline to remove scaffolding nets for all buildings undergoing maintenance works expires tomorrow. Progress, however, remains unsatisfactory due to the tight time frame, while suppliers of fire-retardant nets are struggling to meet sudden demand. Cheryl Yun reports.
With the deadline looming, workers are racing to remove scaffolding nets across the city. The government ordered all buildings under maintenance or renovation, around 200 citywide, to remove scaffolding nets within 3 days following the deadly taipo fire last week. A construction industry representative described the current progress as unsatisfactory. Chow Si-kit, chairman of the Hong Kong Construction Industry Employees General Union, explained that many workers are tied up with existing commitments, adding that the industry is now discussing ways to prioritize net removal, including temporarily suspending other projects to free up manpower. Meanwhile, fire-retardant protective nets are completely sold out across the city. Retailers say fresh stock from the mainland will not arrive for at least 2 weeks. Mak Wai Kung, a building materials supplier, warned that it is hard to tell whether suppliers are offering products that meet recognized safety standards. At this stage, it's possible that everything currently available is fake, he said. Mak added that the only reliable way to verify compliance is to send samples to a Hong Kong registered laboratory for testing, a process that takes at least 1 to 2 weeks. He urged the government to release the updated code of practice as soon as possible. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
In the wake of the catastrophic Taipo fire, major property developers are taking decisive actions to stamp out smoking on construction sites, imposing permanent industry blacklists and heavy fines. Quentin Yang has the story.
At one construction site in Chengdu, large warnings plastered on barricades state violations will lead to $5,000 fine and immediate dismissal. Workers confirm the atmosphere has tightened significantly. This worker said a smoking restricted zone now extends 7.5 meters from the site. While this worker noted they had received formal notice just days ago, agreeing that construction site smoking bans are legitimate. Similar regulations are enforced at sites in Central. Although no warnings are posted, workers confirmed fines have been doubled or tripled. The penalties extend beyond just fines. A viral online video showed a site manager warning workers of permanent blacklists for all the company's future projects. While current site rules are strict, with many describing them as the most stringent in history, they're not universally mandated by law. The Real Estate Developers Association confirmed it is consulting member companies on a comprehensive ban. Chairman Stuart Leung expressed support for eradicating on-site smoking, stating that if the association issues formal guidance, members are expected to follow it. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Victims of the Taipo fire have received financial assistance from the government and the public, but mental health support should also be prioritized, especially for young children. A clinical psychologist urged extra caution if students' post-trauma reactions persist beyond 2 to 4 weeks. Cheryl Yun tells us more.
A temporary support center was set up at the Education University of Hong Kong to provide emotional aid for students affected by the fire. Around 300 pupils from primary 1 to 3 at Taipo Baptist Public School gathered in the university sports hall today for a physical education class. The school was forced to close due to fire damage, with students relocated to various sites to continue their studies. A clinical psychologist involved in the program said that of the several hundred students evaluated, more than 40 showed significant psychological reactions, with over 10 requiring referral to school social workers for follow-up support. Esther Lau, professor of the Department of Psychology at the Education University of Hong Kong, said many students impacted by the recent fire are exhibiting natural post-disaster responses, such as experiencing insomnia, having nightmares, or attachment behavior. The reactions we are seeing now are still within the normal adjustment period. With proper guidance, these symptoms usually fade within 2 to 4 weeks, Lau said. She added that if signs of regression, such as persistent sleep disturbances and panic, continue or worsen after 2 to 4 weeks, the cases should require special attention and further intervention. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
At the Legislative Council election on Sunday, over 4 million Hong Kongers will be eligible to cast their votes for directly elected seats. This time, competitions are ensured across 3 main constituencies, and new measures are introduced to make voting easier. Jamie Liu explains some highlights of this election.
The December 7th electoral polls will be the second legislative election after the 2021 electoral reform that aims to ensure patriots administer Hong Kong. A total of 161 candidates are running for 90 seats in the race, ensuring competitions in all geographical, functional, and election committee constituencies. Nearly 4.14 million people are eligible to vote across the 10 geographical constituencies, each returning 2 seats. Each voter can only cast 1 ballot, and the 2 candidates who receive the most votes will win. Kowloon Central will see the most intense battling, with 6 candidates vying for 2 spots. On the functional constituency front, all 30 seats are also contested by at least 2 candidates. Among them, 5 aspirants are competing for 3 seats in the Labour sector. For the election committee constituency, the 1,500-strong body will cast their votes at the Convention and Exhibition Centre. Out of the 50 candidates, only 40 with the most votes will secure a seat. Meanwhile, age of candidates has become one of the highlights in this election after dozens of current lawmakers, including all 12 aged 70 and above, announced they will not seek re-election. According to available information, the average age of candidates is around 48 years old, with the oldest at age 67 and youngest at 31 years old. Vowing an all-out effort to boost voter turnout, which stood at 30.2% in the 2021 legislative election, the government has launched new measures to facilitate voters, including longer polling hours. Voting stations will open an hour early at 7:30 a.m. and close an hour late at 11:30 p.m., giving voters 16 hours to cast their ballots. On top of the 615 polling stations across the city, designated ones will also be set up under a pilot arrangement, including stations for on-duty civil servants as well as 2 for ethnic minorities. Located near the Khalsa Dewan Sikh Temple in Wan Chai and the Kowloon Mosque in Tsim Sha Tsui. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
The airport authority expects to operate more than 1,200 flights each day during the Christmas and New Year travel period, with peak day passenger volume possibly reaching 200,000.
今年嗰個嘅聖誕同埋個新年期間呢，
Wing Yuan, the authority's director of service delivery, said outbound travel is expected to peak from December 24th to 26th, while January 1st to 4th will be the busiest period as travelers return home. There will be around 1,200 daily scheduled flights, with over 1,220 flights expected on Christmas Eve. Yuan estimates peak day passenger numbers could reach 200,000, similar to the Easter holiday.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held summit talks in New Delhi, discussing trade and defense ties amid U.S. pressure. Putin promised that Moscow is ready to supply uninterrupted fuel to India. Anna Chen reports.
In the welcome ceremony at the presidential house, Putin inspected a Tri-Services Guard of Honor, a symbolic gesture of high respect. Putin's state visit, the first since the Moscow-Kiev war began in 2022, comes as New Delhi faces additional 25% tariff over its purchases of Russian oil and against the backdrop of U.S. efforts to broker peace in Ukraine. Putin and Modi then held summit talks with agenda covering defense, trade and energy. In his opening remarks, Putin said Russia was working on a peaceful solution to the Ukraine conflict. Modi in turn said India was not neutral on the war and stood on the side of peace. Both leaders witnessed the exchange of cooperation agreements in areas like trade and agriculture between the two countries. In a joint press briefing, Modi announced that both sides have reached an economic cooperation program lasting until 2030. He pointed out that increasing the connectivity of Russia and India is a major priority for us, with 2 new Indian consulates opening up in Russia. While Putin stated that Russia stands ready to provide uninterrupted shipments of fuel to India despite pressure from Washington. However, falling short of expectations, no mega deals for fighter jets or defense systems were announced by the leaders. Anna Chen, Cable News.
President Xi Jinping accompanied visiting French President Emmanuel Macron to a rare sightseeing trip in southwestern city of Chengdu, as Macron wrapped up his 3-day visit to China on lighter notes.
In a rare and warm welcome, Xi and First Lady Peng Liyuan personally hosted Macron and his wife Brigitte to visit the Dujiangyan irrigation system in Sichuan, a World Heritage Site and one of the world's oldest irrigation systems. Xi noted that every time he visits Dujiangyan reminds him of ancients' ability to adapt to local conditions, follow the natural course and pursue harmonious coexistence between humanity and nature. These spirits could be extended to a lot of areas, including politics. Facing the Dujiangyan Dam, Macron praised the ingenuity of the Chinese people, as the irrigation works built more than 2,000 years ago are still functioning today. Macron also said he was very touched by Xi's gesture to accompany him to Chengdu, a departure from protocol. During the visit, China and France have issued joint statements on strengthening global governance, joint response to global climate and environmental challenges, continuous promotion of cooperation in peaceful use of nuclear energy, exchanges and cooperation in agriculture and food, and the situations in Ukraine and Palestine. After lunch, the presidential couples parted ways. Macron went on to Sichuan University talking to students, while Brigitte visited the Chengdu research base of giant panda breeding, meeting the first giant panda born in France in 2017 and returned to China 2 years ago. The China Wildlife Conservation Association announced that a new pair of giant pandas is en route to France's Dubac de Beauval in 2027 under a 10-year cooperation agreement.
In an unprecedented maritime deployment, China has allegedly sent more than 100 naval and Coast Guard vessels into East Asian waters over the past 3 weeks. The timing matched with the diplomatic dispute with Japan over Taiwan. Kunting Yang has more.
Reuters quoted security officials in the region as saying the Chinese ships have massed in waters stretching from the southern part of the Yellow Sea, through the East China Sea and down into the South China Sea, as well as into the Pacific. At one point, the deployment consisted of more than 100 vessels, the largest maritime show of force to date. As of yesterday morning, intelligence indicated over 90 Chinese ships are still active across the strategic arc. Sources added that some of these vessels, alongside aircraft, have conducted simulated attack drills targeting foreign ships. The significant build-up began shortly after November 14th, when Beijing summoned Japan's ambassador to protest comments by Japanese Prime Minister Tsunai Takaichi concerning Taiwan, according to the news agency. In Tokyo, officials have refrained from direct comment, but affirmed they are watching China's military moves with significant interest. Thus far, Beijing has not issued a formal response regarding the report. Kunting Yang, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up 149 points. Top active stocks of the day, Alibaba was up 60 cents, Xiaomi was up 80 cents. Ping An was up $3.80, Meituan was up 95 cents. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar, Canadian dollar 5.58, Australian dollar 5.16. On to the weather now. Mainly fine apart from relatively low visibility in some areas. The minimum temperature tomorrow morning will be about 19 degrees in the urban areas and a few degrees lower in the New Territories. Dry during the day with the maximum temperature of around 23 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Ethan Bai. Thanks for watching and good night.